Tonight, did Trump just give a shout out to the Q board? Maybe another proof. And Roseanne Barr tweets out my latest video. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, I start off every one of these episodes by saying thank you to each and every one of my subscribers. Without you guys, this channel just would not work. So thank you to each and every one of you. I appreciate everyone who comes and leaves comments. If you have not hit that subscribe button, come on over here to this landing page and hit the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That way, as soon as these videos get posted, you'll be notified, because as soon as information is made available to me, I do my best to make it available to you. Now, we're going to get into the latest Q post, but first I want to cover just something very interesting to me. Roseanne Barr, the real Roseanne is her Twitter handle. She actually yesterday afternoon around 6:30 posted my latest video. Now, this is just it without the screenshot, because it used to have the screenshot with it, because she deleted that post shortly thereafter. So I'm not 100%, but I do have the screenshots to show that she had my video posted and linked to it on the Roseanne Barr official Twitter page, and it had some traction before she tweeted it, which was 1,000 likes and 411 retweets and 112 comments, which I think is great. I'm just a little curious as to why she deleted it, but I have a good guess. I mean, I really believe that it's because she may have done it, and then somebody and her publicist or somebody around her said that it doesn't look good for her to post things like that, which I understand. But again, thank you, Roseanne, for putting that up. And if you want to repost it or post this video, feel free to. It would really help out the channel a lot and keep that information spreading far and wide. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out and say thank you to Roseanne for spreading the information to Q. And she actually posted a couple other people too, and they all got pulled. So interesting to see. Now, we're going to jump right into the Q post. This is the Q post. We're going to read right through it right now. Time of publish, 4 a.m. Time of drop, coincidence, fight to reinstall roadblock. And then it gives an article here to this, a link to an article from Bloomberg talking about Preet Bharara weighing an independent bid for New York Attorney General. And it says, who is Richard Donahue? Background, pain, Q. So we got a lot to cover here. First, we're going to go over what is Q talking about when the 4 a.m. thing. Now, for those of you who've been with this channel for quite some time, it's going to be very obvious. We're going to do a quick review of that. And this is what's being referenced by Q. If you go all the way back to January 19th, Q actually puts up this post explaining to us how the mainstream media is fake news. And he says, propaganda, talking points, 4 a.m., private email addresses, paid contractors, judgment day, Q. So what Q is exposing here is that the reason why all of the major news networks sound very similar, especially if you go through some of these local channels. I mean, I've seen videos where they're literally just parroting each other. They're not saying anything other than what is on a script that they are all delivered to deliver across the country. And it's supposedly local news, right? But it says that the talking points that the mainstream media go off of are sent out every day at 4 a.m. to private email addresses. Now, who owns those private email addresses? Well, Q's pointed to people in the past who are part of that. They're just certain journalists. There are certain people who basically flag to other people what to follow. So imagine this. It's like a big relay system. So you have a bunch of journalists who are basically working for the government to spread propaganda. They have private email addresses that receive the information at 4 a.m. Then they go and post to their social media accounts and stuff the stories that they think are important. Then that information basically gets picked up by other people who look to them directly for breaking and new news. And it's just a cycle that's kind of like a downward vortex of the mind control that they try to put us through every single day. Now, again, Q has another post here where he's talking about the counter narrative went out at 4 a.m. So they're using this 4 a.m. Drop of information of new news to the MSM, and as in a way to counter the narrative that's being put on channels like this and other channels that are covering Q and covering the truth and so on. It's a way to counter information that comes out about stories that they don't want to go a certain way, right? And it explains to us that they come every day like clockwork, but they call it Russian bots, or they call us Russian bots. And it says these people are really, really stupid in desperation. And when does a bird sing? Nobody is safe. No deals. MSM contractors, hashtag goodbye, fight, fight, fight. So we're trying to clean them out. That's the big thing. We're cleaning out the MSM contractors working for the deep state to propagandize information that's being disseminated to the masses. But back to this timing of drop. Well, the timing of the drop is very interesting because this post right here was actually put up at 4 a.m. on the dot. Right? No coincidence there. And what this is talking about is that with the Attorney General of New York stepping down, Preet Bharara, who was removed as a U.S. attorney by Donald Trump, he was fired after refusing to quit. Preet Bharara, who is a part of the deep state allegedly, he is the one who is now throwing his hat out there and saying that he's weighing an independent bid to replace the basically sexual abuser via allegation, Schneiderman, who was in that position before him, who was removed. And Q told us in the last video, if you guys want to get caught up, you have to go watch this video. It's going to explain the insurance policy. You have Eric Prince. He tells us way back 2 years ago about exactly what was on Anthony Weiner's hard drive and the sick stuff that he mentions, where it's talking about allegedly things like with child sex and with corruption and pay for play. You guys got to go watch this video if you want to get informed and brought up to speed on where we are, because I'm not going to jump all the way back and go backwards. I'm going to keep trying to move forward here. But it says the coincidence of this is not a coincidence at all. And they're trying to get him in office as another roadblock to getting the information out there that's the truth. And the information that we're specifically talking about here is what was on Anthony Weiner's hard drive that the NYPD saw, and that several officers lost their lives just for seeing that information, apparently, allegedly. So this is real. This is not a game. This is the real world. So it's saying, who is Richard Donahue? Background, pain. Well, good question. Very good question, actually. Well, first, Richard Donahue is the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District. He is the one who replaced Preet Bharara. Now, why is that important? Well, Preet Bharara was obviously a globalist, obviously somebody who is working against the American people and not trying to do the work that he was put in to do. Now, why is the background of Richard Donahue important? Well, let's look. We look at his LinkedIn profile here, and it seems pretty normal. He was a chief criminal division of the U.S. Attorney's Office. But what was he before that? And he worked at CA Technologies. So maybe that's what CA was talking about too. If you want to go back, you guys can see in the last post it says watch CA. So maybe that's what that's referring to. I'm not sure. If you guys think that that's connected somehow, let me know in the links. But it says he was a United States Army Judge Advocate General's Corps. He was in that in Fort Bragg for 7 years as a captain, so an officer in the JAG. And for those of you who don't know, the Judge Advocate General's Corps, the JAG officers, they're the ones that prosecute military tribunals, and they do basically the administration of the law inside the Army and inside the military. So these are like the top-notch lawyers and judges in the country, really, because they have the strict discipline of following the Army code and the military code, and or specifically broadly the military code, I should say. And this is what we're bringing in to replace Preet Bharara, is an actual JAG officer, a captain, 7 years. That's what we want, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we need. And he also worked at the Eastern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office for 11 years, from 2000 to 2011. Then he went into the private sector, and now he's come back out of the private sector in order to take the position that he has just been given. Okay, so this is very interesting. If you want to look at it from whatever perspective you want to look at it. But Q's telling us that the background there is very important. So that's his background, and that just tells us that he is there to bring the pain against the criminals that, you know, are trying to avoid prosecution. Now, this is the next post, and it's an AN0N who posts on the board here they say, they give you this meme of Abraham Lincoln. It says, yes, he really said this. And it's a quote from Abraham Lincoln that goes, "We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who would pervert the Constitution." Abraham Lincoln. And it gives the website where that came from. And then Q points to that post and says, "They knew this day would come, evil everywhere, corruption everywhere. We fight, we the people, Q." All right, so obviously that's telling us the message of fighting corruption, fighting evil is what we have to take away from that. And that's what this whole the whole purpose of what Q's doing here is. It's getting information to the people who can then recognize the evil, and then we can fight it. Because if we can't see the evil, we can't fight it. So this is definitely shining light where there was darkness, and we'll just keep going because that's more of an inspirational thing. But there's always cryptic little things hidden all around. So if you see something, point it out, certainly in the comments, and we'll go over it. Now, the next post, an AN0N here posts on the board, says, "It is apparent to us ANONs," right? And, excuse me, it's pointing back to this one right here. So this post is being referenced by the AN0N right here. And it's the time of publish, talking about Richard Donahue and everything. So it says, "It is apparent to us ANONs what crimes Preet is complicit in. I don't know how these people keep thrusting themselves into the spotlight when they are pure evil." Q responds, "What do you notice? They all drop hints. They are considering future elected positions. Why? Claim interference? Attack on opposition party? Protection? Can you serve from jail?" Q. So these people are criminals. Obviously, Q's telling us that they're on their way to jail after we get the indictments going and we get the proper judges in place and the proper prosecutors in place who can effectively prosecute these crimes without sabotaging the outcome. But what is this whole thing hinting at? Well, it's hinting at something pretty ordinary, if you ask me, and it's almost so obvious that that's what makes it so clever. So what they're doing, it says they're dropping hints about their future elected positions. They're considering pursuing future elected positions. Now, why is that important? The importance comes because then they can claim, if they are brought up on charges, right? And this is for the court of public opinion. This isn't for the real court system. But imagine if somebody like, let's just say hypothetically, somebody like a former U.S. attorney were to be indicted for criminal charges, for criminal misconduct or failure to execute the duty of office, whatever it may be. Let's just hypothetically say that. Then by them floating stories that they're considering future elected positions, in the court of public opinion, the people who support and the media can spin it and say it was an attack on the opposition party by whoever's in power at that time, and that's a form of protection that they are seeking. So it's very, very, it's almost so obvious and in plain sight that that's the cleverness to it all, is that they are going to put these stories out as a part of this 4 a.m. MSM propaganda drop. So they put the story out that they're considering the future elected position. Then when they're brought up on charges, they can claim that this is some type of partisan interference where it's one side against the other. It's an attack on the opposition party, right? And that's how they get their protection. So if you guys have any other interpretation, please leave it down in the comments. But that's what I put together from that. And Q's asking us the real question: Can you serve from jail? Well, obviously not if you end up actually in jail. So yeah, that's my take on that. So you guys let me know what you think down in the comments. But then Q posts this, which is very good. Audis, we thank you. Patriots, we thank you. We came here for a reason. Freedom of information, no filters, history books, be proud. Together, where we go one, we go all. Q. And I echo those sentiments 100%. Personally, I want to thank every one of the audits. Yes, the ones out there work very hard, but they're dedicated, and it's in the Patriots. And the Patriots and the audits most of the time are this one and the same. You're doing it because you want the best for your country. You want to expose evil or whatever your personal reason is, but or you love God and you want the truth to be out there. But it's important that we do take the time to stop and thank everyone out there who contributes and puts their effort behind this. That's very important. So thank you to every one of them. Now, Q's telling us that this board was chosen for a reason, because it's freedom of information. This is the filterless dissemination of information. And I think what he's saying here is that this will be mentioned in history books. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're a part of history right now, and it's being made right before our eyes. So we'll have to just stick with this, and we should be proud of ourselves. We should be proud, but we need to keep spreading the word together. We need to keep sharing this information together. We need to get Roseanne on board, get her to tweet these videos more and other videos and other things, and other people who may be watching who have large audiences, yourself. If you're so inclined, please, spread this information however you can. Whether it's posting these videos that I'm making or finding another way in another source, it doesn't matter. Get the information out there, okay? So that's my call to action to everybody out there. Stay united together, because it's where we go one, we go all. No matter where you are in the society, whether you're Roseanne and you're making millions and you have a hit show on ABC, or you're some person who just researches Q because it's interesting and you want to help, and you're not socioeconomically as rich as somebody like Roseanne maybe, or economically I should say, or you don't have the class and all that. But I mean, whoever you are out there, whoever's listening, share this information, because that's why Q chose this board. That's why he chose 8chan. That's why it's free. It's out there for everybody to have. It's just getting it out there. So people have to work to push the information out, because the mainstream media's stranglehold on the narrative is very obvious, and it's because of autists and patriots who work hard every day that this information keeps going out, and that they're going to continue to try to silence us. So if you're out there and you're listening and you got a big audience, or you got a big following, or you're somebody who's skeptical, or even if you're not, even if you're just a regular person and you just share it on Twitter, it's like, that's how we win. That's how we get this information out there. So that's my rant on what I think of it. Now, the next Q post says, did you catch it? Speech. What NYPD detectives were 187 mid-2017? That means killed. And it says, Officer Familia, 1. Godspeed, Patriot. We will never forget Q. Now, this all goes back to here, talking about before. Find the 2 NYPD detectives that were killed in mid-2017. Did they view the insurance file? Threats are revealed. This is not a game. The insurance file, if I said before, Eric Prince explains exactly what's on that insurance file if you want to come back here and watch this video. And by the way, this was the video that Roseanne shared. So thank you, Roseanne, for that, if she's watching. But if you guys want to watch that, go ahead and do that as well. Now, going back to what we were just talking about, though, is finding the 2 officers. Now, I suggested in the last video that one of the officers may have been Officer Familia. Now, she was gunned down, and it was very, very sad how that all went down, and tragic for the family, an incredible loss that they suffered. But then on top of that, you have Q telling us, look at the speech. Well, what speech? Well, how about this? How about during a speech that Trump gave today to the families and officers, the families of officers there's people from all over, but there was 199 police officers who lost their lives in the line of duty, and we pray for each and every one of them and their families. But he turns around during the speech and literally gives a kiss and a hug, and points out the sacrifice made by Officer Familia and her mother and her family, right? That to me is a direct shout out to the Q board, basically. I mean, this stuff is not just happening by accident. All right. This is all a part of a larger plan, and this is all scripted to show that Q is connected to Trump, and that the draining of the swamp and the outing of the pedophiles and Luciferian, Satanist, globalist cabal is happening in real time. And we're going to expose it little by little, but we will get there. Have faith, patriots. But it says, Godspeed, patriot. We will never forget Q. And we will never forget the sacrifice that Officer Familia ended up making, which is the ultimate sacrifice, which is losing her life for doing what she loved doing, which is protecting and serving those and trying to expose and get rid of evil. But, you know, there's going to be sacrifice along the way, and we just thank the patriots out there who sacrifice every day and make this all possible, who got us this information. I just want everybody to note that how many people have lost their lives just getting us the information that we have now. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever take that for granted, and remember it. So now we have another AN0N here posting, and Q responding to that post. Now the AN0N was responding to this post right here, and says, and gives an @POTUS quote, right? It says, I have directed the Justice Department to do everything in its power to defend the lives of American law enforcement. So this is a quote from Donald Trump, President Trump, and it says, do you trust POTUS? This is Q responding. Does POTUS trust Sessions to protect the lives of our brave law enforcement, our country? Reconcile, would Sessions be Attorney General still if he was deep state? Critical thinking dismisses fictional claims. Now, what fictional claims are being made? I think that the fictional claims that are being made are up here, right? The clickbaity stuff that he's talking about, how North Korea threatens to cancel the Trump summit. And, you know, a lot of people, but it could be referring to anything really, considering the fact that a lot of people are putting out there that Trump hates or Trump is dissatisfied with Attorney General Sessions' job, or that the president is not happy with the way things are being run. I mean, but it's all, I think, sort of kabuki, like political theater. It's Trump has to outwardly, and I've said this in other ones. I'll re-explain my theory about the Trump Sessions phenomena of their public distrust and public dissent of one another, or basically one way, Trump to Sessions, but that behind the scenes it's all because of a greater purpose. And what would that purpose be? Well, Trump's saying all these things about how he wouldn't have nominated Sessions, and he doesn't like Sessions, and he lets Sessions go and have lunches with Rod Rosenstein and so on, because it's all a big setup. I mean, it's not even a setup. It's more of a distraction, because Trump has decided to take all that flack from the media and take all that flack from the press in general, because he wants Sessions to be able to do his job. Although Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation, he didn't recuse himself from being Attorney General. He's still investigating things that have to do with the child trafficking, that have to do with the corruption, that have to do with the you name it, the criminal activities going on inside the deep state government. So from what I've heard from people who I think are trustworthy sources, Attorney General Sessions has several ongoing investigations into several matters that include things like what's going on with the Clinton Foundation and other very, very, very big investigations. But they take time to be put together so that they're ironclad, so that when people get brought up on charges and indicted, there's no way a judge can not sentence them, or a jury can not sentence them to being guilty for these crimes that they are alleged of being committed. So that's my theory on what's going on behind the scenes. If you have a different one, please share it down in the comments. But do I trust POTUS? Yes. Does POTUS trust Sessions to protect the lives of our brave law enforcement? Well, to leave him in as Attorney General this long, especially considering he does have the power to fire him at will, that would suggest to me that obviously POTUS does trust Sessions. And it's saying our country, we have to reconcile. We have to reconcile this, guys. And the critical thinking dismisses fictional clickbait claims. So if you see a clickbaity title out there that's talking about how Trump hates Sessions, I'm sure you guys out there know or have seen something that you can share as portraying exactly what that's saying. So that, I'm going to leave it for you guys. But I want to thank every one of you for watching. Before we go, there's one more cool thing that actually I want you guys to understand. Is the military sending us a signal that Snowden is a white hat? And I only say this because military.com just came out with this story saying it's official, the Air Force is switching to the Army's OCP uniform, right? And then this is from yesterday, and the name on the uniform is Snowden, if you guys will notice. I mean, I can blow this up here if you guys want to see it better, but for those of you who can't see, there it is. That's Snowden. And that's the name they chose for the picture, and the uniform they made is a mock-up. And you can even see it better here on the back of this hat. Now, I don't know if a Snowden is a term that's used for somebody in in one of the military branches already that I'm not familiar with. If it is, I'm sure you guys will let me know. But yeah, I wanted to point that out, and I was thinking it's interesting. Military.com. I'm not sure if they're associated with the military. Probably not, since it's not a .gov address. But it is interesting that these are the pictures that you would assume have been put out by the Air Force themselves, because where else would they have gotten these pictures? So yeah, that's something to be thought of. I don't have much more on that. If you guys have anything else, please feel free to contribute it down in the comments. But again, I'm going to say thank you to everybody for watching. And if you're looking for a way to help out the channel, the easiest way to do it, obviously, is to come here and hit the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. The second best way you can contribute, which is my favorite, is to scroll down at the end of this video and to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights, as we try to have our own QAnon research board at the end of every one of these videos, where we talk about each one of the posts and what they could mean, and different breakdowns of what they could mean, and different information in general that relates to Q and what's going on. So I thank you in advance for going and doing that. Now, if you're looking for another way to contribute, I really appreciate it. You can come over here to Just Informed Talk on Patreon. It's patreon.com. You can search Just Informed Talk. It'll bring you to this page. Click that button to become a patron. Check out my rewards and goals. I appreciate it, and thank you in advance to everybody for checking that out. Now, what we're going to talk about, which is the most important thing always, is God. And I have this great verse from the book of James, right? Chapter 4. And it's titled Proud or Humble. And I think that's so important to remember, and to just, and I may be reiterating this one, but it's true, because we have so much to gain from a strong sense of humility. There's nothing that you'll gain by letting your pride take over for your ability to understand that you don't know everything, and that you don't have all the answers, and that you're not perfect. So I work on that every day. It's something in the back of my mind, that I try to push to the front every day, to remind myself to be humble and to practice humility, and with my fellow man, and with how I approach different subjects and how I present information, because I believe that that is the key to longevity and success. And that's how you develop proper maturity and wisdom, is by instilling a high sense of humility in yourself, and knowing that you must humble yourself before the world at large, but most importantly before God. So let's read through it. It's chapter 4 of the book of James here, and it says, "What is the source of the wars and the fights among you? Don't they come from the cravings that are at war within you? Desire and do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight in war. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and don't receive because you ask wrongly, so that you may spend it on your desires for pleasure." Well, that's 100% true. What I think is trying to be said here, what's being put out there, is that the source of fighting, and the source of evil, and the source of that corruption and death and destruction, is because you don't ask God for his guidance. You don't ask God for his wisdom. And when you do ask, you don't ask God for the things that he wants us to ask for, which are the most important things, like being humble and being kind, and being strong enough to share his word. Now, we're all soldiers of Christ, and we have to remain strong and able to fight. But what he's saying here is, when you reach out to God in that way, where you're just trying to satisfy your own desires for pleasure, that's when you know you're doing it the wrong way. You're asking God wrongly. So remember, Humbling yourself is this: just know you don't know everything, and you can know a lot. That doesn't have to insinuate that you're less intelligent. What it usually shows is that you have an ability for self-reflection that is one of the most important traits that we possess as humans, because when we can reflect on the things that we've done, then we can make a choice not to repeat those behaviors if they are destructive, or we can make a choice to repeat those behaviors if they are productive. And one of the most productive behaviors that you will ever get yourself involved in is loving and worshiping God and seeking His guidance and wisdom on a daily basis. So just remember that if you are out there and you're lost, that God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Remember those words. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And pray a lot. Pray when you're happy, sad, indifferent. But that's going to be it. If you don't take anything else away from this episode, just remember that God loves you, and God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And God's grace is greater. So that's going to be it. Again, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to come here to the landing page. You can click the big red subscribe button, check out and hit the bell for notifications, and check out some of my latest videos if you want to catch up on what's going on in the QAnon world. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching again. This has been Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless every one of you patriots out there.